It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Oh yeah, we hitting great.
Painkiller.
CJ, the painkiller.
Kevin Jackson.
So we need to start acting like a big boy football. It's time for the jet tax to die.
You're listening to Weapons Hot on Sports War Radio and the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Darnold fires one into the end zone. It is caught. That's a jet touchdown.
And now here is your host, CJ, the Painkiller, D. Simone, and Kevin Jackson.
What's going on, Jets Nation? Welcome to another edition of Weapons Hot, a New York Jets fan broadcast here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, Snowman Digital Media, Sports War Radio, and quite frankly, any place where you get your New York Jets fan fix. I'm your host, CJ the Painkiller D. Simone, and I'm normally joined by my partner in crime, Mr. Kevin Jackson. But he is running a little bit late, rightfully so, because it's his birthday. So, we got to cut him a little bit of slack. But nevertheless, I do have a very special guest who's joining me tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to please put your hands together. The host of Jet Zone Radio, Mr. Lonnie Siegel. Lonnie, how are you?
Well, I've been sipping the booze this afternoon because when the Jets lose, we drink booze. And the Jets lost the game again. We're 0-7.
So, in case you live under a rock or you did not get the opportunity to watch today's game, the New York Jets drop a decision 18-10 to the Buffalo Bills, a game in which the New York Jets at one point actually led this game, believe it or not, 10-0. And also another thing, too, we did not actually see Adam Gase calling plays in this game. Yes, you did hear me correctly. It was actually Darryl Loggins who did the play calling today, so kudos to Adam Gase for taking a step back, realizing that some of the stuff that they were doing just was not working. So, and it looked like for a little bit when we actually started the game that, the New York Jets were making some headway and they were actually going out there and actually doing some good stuff. Sam Darnold actually had a couple of beautiful throws, threw an absolute rocket to Berrios on a 3rd and 19 conversion, which was beautiful. We saw running back Michael Piron get his first NFL touchdown today. We had a field goal today from newly signed field goal kicker Sergio Castillo. But unfortunately, that was pretty much the extent of the New York Jets offense for the day. So as it basically turned into the Tyler Bass show, where Tyler Bass with 5 field goals, courtesy of Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills offense, where the New York Jets defense just could not get a stop. And then in the second half, the New York Jets defense just completely fizzled out. It seemed like that they had difficulty making adjustments. The Jets could not convert on any of the first downs that they had. I think they had a grand total of 4 yards at one point in the second half of this football game, which was completely ridiculous. So, Lonnie, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on today's game. What is it that kind of stuck out for you?
Well, it's a few things, and thanks for having me, of course. Let me say that before we get going. It's been a long time since you and I had a chance to talk about the New York Jets, and we're both very passionate about the team, of course. And I will say, just before we get into the game, since I've been doing podcasting for a very long time, everybody knows how much I follow the Jets. It's a 12-month endeavor for me. Keeping this in mind, I always root for the Jets to win. I understand where we're at. We're 0-7. We're pushing hard towards a draft pick and a rebuild, but understand that I'm always hoping the Jets can win the game. And my pregame prediction for today was I thought that the Bills would not only win the game, but they would win the game by about 17 points. So, in fact, I think the Jets did a super job in limiting the Bills at what they do best. And I also thought we had some terrific play today, terrific play from Quinnen Williams today, a player on the Jets that is so maligned by certain fans. Some love him, some like him, and some really hope that JD pulls off a trade and and sends him someplace else. The Jets are hoping for more than a second-round pick for him. And I'll tell you the truth, after today's performance, I'd be very surprised that they trade him at all, to be honest with you. That one penalty that he got was a mistake. He got his helmet too close to the quarterback, but he was right on top of him. He had a terrific day. First half-wise, that Darnold came out, played very well, accompanied by Mims, who also played terrific in his first pro game. But from then on, things really did fall apart for the Jets. They had a total of 5 offensive yards in the second half. And that is just absolutely unacceptable. But kudos to the Bills for making their adjustments to shut them down. Lastly, I'd like to say regarding Sam, lots of talk out there from our fans. Sam played terrific in the first half, but, he was sacked 5 times. 3 of them were on him. 3. Because his check down 3 times without letting the ball go is just unacceptable. I also thought that his rhythm today seemed a little off, but again, he's been out for 2 games. And once again, we're making excuses for Sam Darnold, a guy that I like. Once again, and I did say this on a short video I made earlier, I believe the Jets and him, the glass is half empty, not half full, empty.
All right, so now really quick before we start moving on, I did want to talk about some stats for this game. As you alluded to, Denzel Mims, 4 receptions for 42 yards. His longest was a 16-yard reception. He had 7 targets. Braxton Berrios, 4 receptions for 35 yards. His longest was a 22-yard one. He was targeted 7 times. Brashad Perryman, wow, he took an absolute shot from Micah Hyde at the just under the 2-minute warning when the Jets were trying to drive. And he's now been listed as in the concussion protocol, so he could be out for a serious amount of time. We also lost Kyle Phillips to an ankle injury. He had to be carted off. From what I'm understanding, that injury is season-ending, so the Jets have lost Kyle Phillips, probably or arguably one of their best defensive linemen this season so far. So Frank Gore, 11 carries for 60 yards. LaMichael Pirine, 11 carries for 39 yards and a touchdown. So Sam Darnold, though, still, the stats just, they're killer. 12 for 23, 120 yards. Picked off twice, 6 sacks for a 29-yard total.
If you want to look at his stats in total, you have to say he had a poor game. There's no other way to look at it. Mm-hmm. But watching the whole game, no one would say that he had a poor first half. He had a terrific first half. Terrific.
He had a very good first half. And I mean, we saw him spread the ball around. Braxton Berrios caught a couple passes. Brashad Perryman caught a couple passes. Denzel Mims, LaMichael Pirine. So I mean, they really were mixing up a lot of the run and a lot of the pass, and it looked like, even believe it or not, their very first drive of the game, they marched right down the field. So, had the drive not stalled out, they probably would have been ahead, 7-0 at that point, but instead it was 3. So, and then the Buffalo's ensuing drive, they marched right back down the field, and then Tyler Bass ended up missing one of 2 field goals that he missed today. So,
all I could say is that we could spend a half hour talking about Sam and the pros and cons of his future with the club. I could tell you that he's got a couple of 3 weeks here to show everyone that makes a decision over there whether or not they want to continue to hold on to him, or the obvious play and make a change behind center for next season. Certainly not for this season. He's in his 3rd year. Let's go down the list a little. He's in his 3rd year. He came out, played well, got sick, had mono, sat out many weeks, came back, righted the ship, helped the Jets win a bunch of games towards the end of the season, no matter who they played and no matter what those rosters were. When we look back at the records, you'll see W's. That's all that counts.
Yep.
And now, once again, comes in, spotty play, injury, and that's no fault of Gase or anybody else. Guys get injured. Things happen. He's in his third year. I mean, the Jets are going to have to make a serious decision about this, because if they decide to stay with him, man, he better work out, because that window is going to be open for them with multiple draft picks and the biggest salary cap available in the league. I mean, I fully expect the Jets to be a completely different team in 2 years. I mean, a completely different team. You know, a lot of these guys are auditioning for jobs, these men that are playing. And, you know, that's why, and again, I have to bring up Gase for a moment. We could also spend a half hour talking about him. You know, a lot of people, and I'll catch a little for this, a lot of people are going to say how Gase has lost that locker room, but I don't believe it, honestly. And I'll tell you why. Because, once again, there is a short window for these professionals to play ball. They're not all Gore, okay? He is a unique specimen. Be thankful you're alive to see him play. It's just incredible. My son was telling me how Gore is playing so long that when he came into the league, that was the last time Alabama didn't win. I mean, it's a long time is what we're trying to say. So I just think that it's going to be a very interesting time. And again, players on this team are all fighting for their jobs, not so much on the Jets, but in their careers. They're fighting for career jobs, career real money. What's your take, buddy? Do you think the Jets should hold on to Quinnen? What do you think about that?
Well, I like Quinnen Williams as a player. I mean, he also draws the most double teams in the NFL. So, I mean, for him to draw a lot of attention does open up avenues for other people to have an opportunity to go out there and to wreak some havoc in the backfield. And today, you know, you saw him. I mean, he had a little bit of an impact out there. So, you know, there was something for him to do. Today, he did get that push up the middle, but, you know, Josh Allen, again, you know, you have a mobile quarterback, a guy who sees when things are breaking down, he's just going to take it upon himself to run the ball. And Josh Allen has always been somebody who, for the past couple of years, have given the Jets fits because of his escapability. And I mean, Avery Williamson whiffed on a couple of different tackles today. But you know, I mean, as far as Quinnen Williams is concerned, I mean, I expect him to be the linchpin of this offensive line. That being said, I was also hoping that maybe we would have saw a little bit of Jabari Zuniga today, and we didn't see him. So we really don't understand why he's being held out. So, but I'm not trading Quinnen if I'm Joe Douglas.
Not unless I'm getting great value. I mean, I'm talking about fantastic value. I mean, talk about a big puppy. That's who he is. I mean, again, you're going to get 10 Jet fans in the room, and you're going to find 5 of them will say how they're disappointed in him. But I think people mistake what his position really is. You know, he never got a lot of sacks in Alabama. That wasn't his thing at all. Okay? He disrupts.
Right.
He's strong. He makes them change plays. That's the kind of player he is. He'll get some sacks. He's not going to lead the squad in sacks. It's not his thing. And by the way, sometimes your best athletes don't have to be that guy on defense up front. Sometimes.
Yeah, you're right
and
about that.
I just think he's a very unique athlete. And I agree with JD, if that's the word out there, because at least that's what I'm hearing, that the Jets would like more than a number 2 for him. And I think that's rightfully so. He's a number 1 pick kind of player, potential player. And, you know, if no one wants him, well, he's going to stay right here in the green and white. I like it.
Exactly.
I have no problem with that at all.
So really quick, because of the Jets lose, I know you do your whole, when the Jets lose, we drink booze. And you know what? Tonight, you and I are going to have a shot on the air.
Well, I could tell you that in the Jets lose, we drink booze history. This is a first. And I will tell you that the Jets lose, we drink booze started with my children. Way back, of course, when the Jets win, we go in, we jump in the pool or bodies of water. I started doing that with my son when he was in middle school. Then he became a high schooler, and then he went off to college. So then I had to do these all by myself. I did that for a few years. I've been doing it about 12, 13 years. Suddenly, the Jets have been so pathetic the last few years. I came up with this: when the Jets lose, we drink booze. And we tried it that way. Every now and then I have some special guest stars with me in the studio, in the home, but not like this. And I even have, I already poured, I'm going to show everyone. I was drinking Makers earlier. I'll drink it again. And here it is. When the Jets lose, we drink booze, official glass.
That's nice.
Yes,
right
yes, boys and girls. This is what you get when you're an adult. Here we go.
See, here I've got mine over here. I don't have the cool saying on the bottom, but I do have a New York Jets thing. So
Let's do it this way. Here we go. So when the Jets lose, we drink booze. This one's for you.
Smooth.
Smooth. Very good. Very good.
Oh, that is good.
We'll have to have another one before we're done tonight. Very
yes,
good.
Absolutely. Oh, believe me, I'm prepared.
This jumping in the pool stuff. I have memories timeline like a lot of people do on Facebook. I look at videos from years and years ago, but the reality is, because of COVID, I hardly go near my pool where I live. I've been in the ocean many times. That's okay. But I'm kind of on the low. But if the Jets win,
oh yeah,
damn it, I'm going in. I can promise you I will. I promise. If they win, I'm in.
Absolutely. So really quick, I want to get to the comments. Shout out to Scott Klesby, who's been blowing up the timeline. I don't want to read all of the comments, just a couple of the most notables. I've seen people killing Sam. Yes, he had a bad second half, but come on. Did he have any time to do anything after halftime? No, not really. I mean, there were a couple of times where, the offensive line completely failed him. The Jets actually covered the spread for the first time this year. That's a good. Let's see here. The play calling got very predictable in the second half, and Perine had no idea how to pick up a blitz. Yes and no. There were a couple of plays over there where Perine was supposed to actually go out and be Sam's outlet, and he got stuck. He got stuck getting railroaded picking up a blitz where he got blasted. That actually happened in the fourth quarter. So, in regards to Quinnen Williams, Q had a very good game today. Until they can get an outside pass rusher, Q is going to continue to be doubled. He also says, you two are going to die from alcohol poisoning. Yeah, seriously. Jump in the pool. Your skin must be as dry as the desert. I tell you, Scotty, I tell you, I love this guy because he's always got some very interesting things when he jumps on the show feed and he drops some comments. So he's one of the good followers of the show. So shout out to Scott.
Don't worry, Scotty. I use moisturizer. I'm very smooth. Don't worry. Everything's good. It's all good. I'm getting older. I have to watch my skin. I make sure the skin is good. Don't worry about that.
All right. So now let's get down to brass tacks there. We've obviously, the Jets are 0-7. And I've really been dying to get you on the show for a long time this season there, Lonnie. So I really want to hear your opinion on what you think the New York Jets are in the process of doing. I mean, we're 0-7. This is probably the first good game besides the Denver game that we've really seen this team fight, but they couldn't sustain it in the second half. Now, are they really trying to fight hard for the coaching staff, or guys out there just trying to put together some solid tape, or do you think there's something else going on here that we should know about?
Well, yes. First of all, I think that they're putting in a big effort every week. For the reason I pointed out in our first segment, these are professionals, and by the way, we're not in week 14 either. We are in the first piece of the season. We're just ending the first piece of the season. If you look at a 16-game season, if they play a 16-game season, and each and every week as we move forward, I'm getting more comfortable with the idea that they will have a 16-game season, but that's not guaranteed. There's no guarantee. The NFL plays a 16-game season, and not to get off on a tangent, it's my position that if they get to 12, they could stop right there and make playoffs. They could do it. because 12 is a number that works for playoffs. That's why. 10's okay, 12 is better. If the pandemic grows and there's more infections among the players or coaches or staff. So that's one thing. As far as the Jets are concerned, this is what I'm hearing. Okay. And please, I want everyone to please take whatever I tell you with a grain of salt. I am a mega fan. I am not connected to the organization. Somebody once asked me about that. And although I knew people there, I am not connected there, but I do hear things. And this is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that Adam Gase is going to be the head coach of the Jets in 2021. And I'm hearing that that's certainly going to happen, even if they go 0-16. And the reason why is twofold. Number one, and this is the reason I was given, that the executives inside the team, which includes, of course, Mr. Johnson and brother, they feel that Gase hasn't had a real shot with a full roster. This has been repeated several times already. You could start believing it. That's what they think. Number two, the reality to their situation is they're still paying Bowles. They are paying him real money. They gave Gase a multi-year deal for a big sum of money for a coach, especially for him. There is no way they're going to start going out and getting a name coach that might cost them $10 million a year. The New York Jets are not ever going to pay a coach $10 million to coach this franchise. Never. Especially when they have two coaches they're paying right now. So my opinion is that Gase, in a sense, is overseeing the program. That's why he gave up the ability to call the plays today. Why would he do that? I mean, I just think that he's in a position where it's a very difficult spot. I think he has the total support of ownership. JD cannot fire him. Joe Douglas cannot fire Gase. Gase does not report to him. Gase reports to the owner. That is the hierarchy of the New York Jets. So if you understand all of this, it is an enormous crap sandwich. There's no question about it. But I just don't foresee it. And every fan out there, including me, you could stand on your head and say how he should be fired and complain about these things. I believe you'll see him next year. No matter what people say about their season tickets, no matter what they say about that they're giving up the NFL and the Jets, no matter a couple of knuckleheads went out there, started rooting for the Bills, kapooey on them, go root for the Bills. Give me a break. That is the stupidest thing ever. So it would not surprise me if you see Gase here again next season.
Wow.
Again, I know that sounds awful, but that wouldn't surprise me at all. What are they doing? You know what? They're showcasing their players. They're still trying to make trades. They're still trying to build more offers so they can get more and more draft picks. They are going to have an enormous 2 years of draft here that is going to set us forth for a decade. And you know something, I'm not getting any younger. So I'm hoping and praying that they can get that done. As far as Joe Douglas is concerned, I don't know about you, but you've seen the rookies play today, and they did shine today, shed some light on Joe Douglas in a positive way. Finally, because he takes a lot of hits from Jet fans. A lot of Jet fans wanted Douglas to come out and have a press conference. Have you been reading about this? Where is JD? How come he's not talking to the fans?
Yes, it was something I actually mentioned on a couple of shows ago that I really wish that Joe Douglas would come out and address the public as to the state of the franchise. But I think they'll probably do that around the bye week because that's normally what.
That's what the New York Jets do. Once again, this is the New York Jets. They have a certain way of running their business. If you'll notice, no matter who the coach is, that's how they run. And by the way, I hear someone out there saying, yeah, they run their business like crap. I understand what you're saying. I
That's
get
exactly
it.
what
But they do have a method, an executive method that they stick to. Like they don't talk about trades in the offseason and all of these things. We don't talk about contracts. Never. They don't have the general manager come out and make press conferences. No. The Johnsons don't want him to do it. He will have his presser during the bye week, and I believe that's the week of November 10th, if I remember correctly.
Right, I think
And I'm like on a high wire here. I'm working without notes today. It's not bad. So November 10th, that week, Joe Douglas, Monday, Tuesday, whatever day Gase usually talks to people, that's the day that he's going to talk. And he's going to be the only one talking, by the way. No Gase, no Johnson, just him. And that's who you're going to get because that's the New York Jets way. That's what they do. Be very interesting to see what he has to say, right?
Yeah, it will definitely be interesting to hear what he has to say because with the Jets being over right now, and it seems like the team is regressing as opposed to progressing, we're not seeing a lot of tight games like we saw today. If we probably had seen, more tight, a more tight setting, I think that fans would probably, I don't want to say like they'll embrace losing because I don't think as this franchise we should ever embrace losing. I think as this franchise we should always strive to be the best team in the AFC. We should always strive to be the best team in the AFC East. And it just seems like that there are opportunities after opportunities that the Jets either cannot take advantage of, or we just have the wrong people in here pushing the buttons. So I'm hoping that, believe it or not, one, I hope you're wrong. I'm going to be honest with you. I hope that at the end of the day.
By the way, I need to interject this so you make sure you quote it right later.
Okay.
This is not opinion I'm giving, not opinion. This is information that I've been given, and my opinion is driven by the information only. That's right. It. If it was up to me, I would hope they'd go out there and look for the best three candidates, pick one, and rebuild the damn thing. But what I'm saying is, this is the information that I'm hearing. And by the way, it's not much different than I've been tweeting about and writing about and talking about for months. I've been saying this. Gase is not going anywhere. What's the point of firing Gase now anyway? What's the point of that? We're going to give red meat to the fans? That's not the way these organizations work at all. I'm going to say again, people are saying they're not going to renew their season tickets. Can I tell you that they're not worried about that? They're not. They're sitting with an empty stadium right now. Empty. Okay? That is not what it's about for them at all. I think they recognize that they have a real, is this a PG-13 show?
Listen, this could be R-rated at some time.
They know that because I used to do this, so I'm careful what I say. This is a legitimate shit show going on over there, and they know it. They know it. They can't stand this. They don't want this. It's an embarrassment. They get that. But, the Jets are always a team in the league, as far as the NFL is concerned. The league wants the Jets to be successful. They're the New York team, one of the two New York teams. They want the Jets to be successful. But unfortunately, they've had a set of circumstances that they've brought upon themselves.
Oh, yeah.
and again, there's no reason why not to think that Joe Douglas is not the perfect guy, the right guy, a good guy to have in this position to get it done. And no, Peyton Manning didn't curse us and whisper in people's ears and all this stuff, okay? They might have had something to say, but, that's what it is. I know you don't feel this way. I know a lot of people feel they'd like to have him fired right now. But
well,
they have so.
I mean, I would have liked to. I think personally, the right time to fire Adam Gase would have been right after the Denver game, because I think that whoever it was that you would have had as your interim would have had 10 days to prepare. I think that Sam Darnold could have benefited from a different voice in his ear. We saw that Sam Darnold did actually have a different voice in his ear today, and it benefited him for 30 minutes of football. So we need to see more from that. So
but not during the week.
Right.
But not during the week, not during the prep. It was the guy who called the plays. I'm not trying to minimize what the guy did, but he works there next to Gase. He knows what Gase is going to call. The greatest play that he called was in the first half, was the 3rd and 18.
Yes.
Okay. And I was sitting with my son. I said, 3rd and 18, the Jets will probably call a draw. I said, no, we need to sling it down the field here. Let's go. That was what I said. Let's go. And they happened. Sam delivered a beautiful pass.
Yeah, he did.
An equally great catch. Again, my hat's off. There it is. My hat's off for the play call. Fantastic. It's one among many. In sports, people don't like this either. In sports, that play, that particular call is just as important as a play was called in the 3rd quarter. Just as equal. Some are successful, some are not. At the end, the aggregate is how it's done. And then, of course, it's a chess game, usually in the last 10 minutes, 8 minutes of a game, possessions and such, and take chances and such. I mean, that's football. By the way, this should be a tell for everyone. If the Jets didn't fire him, if the Jets didn't fire Gase after the Denver game, why would you think they'd fire him now?
I personally think that
there's no answer for that.
And I've actually said this. I actually said this when I appeared on the Thomas Take podcast earlier today, that I think that Adam Gase probably gives the Jets the best chance to go 0-16. That firing him now is completely pointless.
I would agree with that 100%. 100% agree. Yes.
There's also the flip side where I kind of look at it from Joe Douglas's perspective and saying that, if this is truly going to be an evaluation year and we want to see if Sam Darnold is going to be the future of this franchise, and we see that he's struggling under Gase and he's actually taking steps backwards instead of forwards, so it would benefit to have a different voice, to have a different leadership, and maybe Gase should be shown the door. But
let me ask you. Again, you could be the advocate for the fan base for the moment, okay? And I'm just going to throw one at you because your knowledge of football is equal to mine. It's fine. We're the same in this regard. When Sam goes back in the pocket, looks to the right, has the ball ready, looks to the left real quick, and it goes back for a third look with 5 defensive linemen within an arm length of him, whose fault is that?
Yeah, it's definitely on Sam.
Is that Gase?
No, that's not Gase. That's definitely on Sam because he has to be more decisive with his decision making with the ball.
Okay.
So I think though the only caveat to that is this, Lonnie, is that if you go and take a look at the offensive coordinators that have been surrounded by Sam Darnold, we had Jeremy Bates, who was up in a mountain for 5 years. Okay. And you had Adam Gase / Darryl Loggins. And really the only quarterbacks coach that he actually had was Josh McCown. So how much of it is Sam not really understanding it, and how much of it is him not getting the coaching? That
I got to disagree with that. Only respectfully, I have to disagree with that because all I'm hearing is during the week what he's doing. Okay, unless again, is Gase just lying about Sam during the week? And again, being devil's advocate, is he lying? What Sam's doing during the week, is he lying that the team had good practices during the week? And then when Sam gets in the game, and again, he's been off for two games, and he always seems to have a pile of excuses associated with him. And it's unfortunate, but true. You can look back at it. It's true. He seems to make a lot of bad errors for a third-year player in the NFL. I don't care how old you are now, because he's a man, okay?
Yeah, I agree.
And we are in a critical moment in our team history of what we're going to do about this position. And by the way, if they commit to him, it wouldn't necessarily be a bad, decision, because even though they would commit to him and they get one more year with him, by the way, at this money he gets paid, that's another thing. Don't forget, it's 3 years and another, right? Mm-hmm. So one more year, they don't have to pay him yet. So there's almost like a year they have a soft spot. They'd have to say no to somebody special, go with him for a year, knowing that the Jets in 2021, more than likely, are going to be like a 3-win team, 5-win team. That's just the reality, that they could probably get somebody. Again, there's others. Ohio State's got a great quarterback too. I mean, there are other quarterbacks out there. He's not the only one out. Trevor's not the only guy out there, even though he's he's very sexy to look at for us to have. and he's a Ferrari, maybe. So, my gut feeling is the Jets are going to stay with Sam Darnold. That's just my gut. Because I think they have a year built in with him. That's why.
Okay.
That's the money. And once again, I have to go back to the money. They're running an organization. They're not Jerry Jones. They're not the Cowboys. They don't free spend. They don't do that. They're not like the Patriots, where they have total ownership support of the one man who can make any decision he wants and spend if you want or don't. And of course, he abuses the rules right to the edge of the envelope, to the edge of the glue.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at an envelope and the glue, there's a little space between the edge and where the glue starts on the envelope. Take a look. That is where Bill Belichick sleeps. He is in there. Okay. So we don't have that. We don't have that either. Okay. Even Seattle makes moves more than us. So we're conservative a little bit. We're conservative. So, I think, they'll look at, we could have him for another year. Sam's pretty good. Let's give him another chance. And I could see that happen. I see it. So, we go in another direction. But we're going to have a lot of new players next year, man. Oh my God. A very young team. Very young team. Very young team. And,
now,
they're going to sign too many free agents. That's not what they do. Well, hold on. Hold on. Except. I said a lot of controversial shit tonight. People have things to say.
That's good.
I know that. I'm going to read the comments too in a second. But, keeping in mind, this team looks at money a little differently than some of these other big teams, even differently than the Giants. They look at money in a completely different way. All right, go to the comments. I want to hear this. Let's go.
All right. So, again, shout out to Scott Klesby. He's blowing up the comments tonight. Oh, my goodness. Owners don't care. They get all the money they need from the TV deals. Everything else is just gravy. Joe, I'm assuming Joe Namath sold his soul. In mentioning the throw that we talked about to Brashad Perryman that basically almost got him killed. The throw that got Perryman killed was also a great throw. And in regards to your comment about practices, he has great practices because he throws against Pierre Desir every play. Everyone completes everything against Desir.
Well, did you hear the play-by-play guys say that Sam set up that hit? They were negative again. He set up the hit because of the way the ball was thrown. I thought that was a cheap shot. I didn't like that he said that.
Yeah, that was. But I mean, also Micah Hyde. He was kind of caught in a compromising position because
wasn't trying to hurt him. That was a
right.
good hit. It was a great hit.
It wasn't like a hit after the play or anything like that. It was just a bang bang play. It's one of those unfortunate things. But
let's go back here. Let's go back into the game a little bit. I'm remembering again. My apologies. I'm just rambling on. I hope you don't mind. So
me, brother, go for it.
Back in the first quarter, and we have the ball, and we're working our way down the field, and getting everybody involved, and we're running, and we're throwing, and it's looking good. Oh, look what's here. Oh, let me show everybody. Look what's here. Look at my wife. Look at my wife.
Oh,
look at this.
That's nice.
Delicious. It's the real coffee. Oh my goodness.
So it's the real coffee as opposed to the fake coffee.
Well, she knows I've been drinking since 2:00. So anyway, in the first quarter, don't you remember Sam had a third and I think it was 5 or 8? I can't recall that part. 3rd and 5, 3rd and 8. And we ended up kicking the field goal.
Yep.
But Sam started making his way on the left side, started to run a little.
Right.
And then hesitated and decided to throw it, and it was incomplete. We kicked the field goal. I got so mad. I cursed at him a little. I said, hey, you got to run for that first down, kid. This is it. What do you mean you're not going to run for that first down? You've got to do that. And David, my son, was arguing, well, the defense was on top of him. I said, bullshit. He was going. I mean, one more step, he would have picked up 3 yards right there. He just had he's a big kid.
Right.
I was disappointed in that right away. I didn't like that at all. Actually, I thought if they could get a 4th and 1, they would go for it. But of course, it was incomplete. They had to kick the field goal.
Right.
I'm thinking the Jets at 0-7. They're running 4 plays if they're in the red zone, aren't they?
Yeah,
They
I
were
would think
running
so,
four
'cause at this
plays.
point,
They had to.
especially when you have an offense that's struggling, for if you're in the red zone, you're not settling for field goals. You're
I
going.
got another one for you. Remember the play when the Jets were going right to left,
Yep.
and it was 4th and 1.
Yep. It was 4th and
And
1.
the Jets
they ended up
decided to
giving
go
the
for it.
Pirine.
So of course, they come out in the shotgun. What are they doing? That was horrible. That was horrible. You don't put Sam under center? You got to put Sam under center. It's 1 yard. I'm not saying Sam should do it, because not when you got Gore and not when you have other guys that could do it. Plus, you set him up to throw it. But once you put him in the shotgun, if they get any penetration, the play is over, and that's exactly what happened. That's exactly. And
Right.
I was catching some grief on Twitter about it. They said, "Yo, what are you talking about?" I mean, he gets all his options from there. Not against the Bills. They had the 3rd best defense in the NFL last season, and they're good. They're good up front. We did a good job for a while. They are very, very good up front. No matter how many points they scored today to win, once again, in a few weeks when they add up the wins, it's going to say win, right? They're not going to worry about the score. Not unless they go to some weird playoff format. Have you heard about some of these weird playoff formats they talk about?
They've been kicking around a bunch of different things, but
Winning percentage was one of the discussions rather than wins. If they go to 12, that means that you wouldn't get your equal amount of games interconference or maybe even in your division. It is possible, depending if they move the schedules around. The schedule got messed up. So when they're determining the playoff positions, there are rules set up for tie breaks. Everybody knows this, right? And then some of it goes to total points and total wins against your division, and then total wins in general. And then they have one that's called the winning percentage. But the winning percentage, it's not ever used unless it's a tie every week. So the NFL is talking about that if they can't get to 16, that they would use winning percentage as a way to seed the playoffs, which will be a huge advantage for someone. So what could happen there is a team could somehow slip into a different spot that would be an advantage for them. There's no question about that. By the way, let me ask you a question. Who's the number 1 team in the AFC right now, in your opinion?
it's hard to say. You'd make an argument for 3 teams right off the bat. I mean, you have to make an argument for the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. You have to make an argument for the Kansas City Chiefs. You even have to make an argument. Shit, who else? The Chiefs, the Titans.
That's the 3 teams: Titans, Chiefs, and of course the champs. Okay, so to me, I almost want to say that the Steelers are number 1. I just like what they're doing. They're very methodical, very businesslike. Their coach is being incredibly stealth. It's keeping it real. If you ever hear him talk, all he's talking about how is we're a unit. We're keeping everything inside. Everybody's good. We have no COVID. We're taking care of our own business. KC, of course, is the champs. So, they're on every commercial on TV. They seem to be a very happy group. I understand that. They've got a legendary coach. They won the Super Bowl last year. Mm-hmm. And they are, in fact, the best team in the NFL. With all due respect to Pittsburgh or Green Bay or anybody else you want to bring up. Yeah, but I could in Baltimore, I didn't put them in the top 3. I didn't. I don't think so. I mean, I put them in Tennessee together. To me, I'm on the AFC side. But I think Pittsburgh is going to have a lot to say about who wins the Super Bowl this year. I really do.
I would expect them to. They're doing great. I mean, Chase Claypool is completely playing out of his mind. Ben Roethlisberger, is seeming
he's renewed. He's like renewed.
Yep.
And may I say, he's coming off a serious injury. Serious. So I think Pittsburgh's going to be a very interesting team. No question about it.
Oh, I believe so. They're definitely going to be a team that everyone's going to have to keep their eye out on. Believe it or not, even I hate to say it, the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns are sneaking up on people's radars, and I don't know where this
Yeah,
team.
they won a tough game today, even though they're going to have to worry about injuries now after the game. Listen, they kicked our butt so bad I still feel it.
Yeah.
I still feel how badly they beat us.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so disappointed in that outcome. I was last season. They're an up and coming team. They're not on the top rungs. It's not where they are. They're right there. Can they steal a win? Yes. Can they be competitive? Yes. Can they play defense like Buffalo in the last 2 quarters? No. You see what Buffalo did today? Completely shut us down.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, we're weak, but they can hurt a good team in that way. And that's a great weapon. And they play in the Northeast, and we've said it all along how the Northeast teams have a certain kind of defense, right?
Yep.
They are that group. And wait till they have home games up there. Orchard Park, no one likes going there in November, December. Forget about January. But it's horrible.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. I mean, New England is struggling. I mean, they lost to San Francisco today, 33-6. I mean, Kansas City, we just talked about them. They put the whooping on Denver, 43-16. The Chargers, believe it or not, are coming out of nowhere with a 39-29 victory over Jacksonville. And Jacksonville,
they're playing good ball. But keep in mind, though, Jacksonville's a fake good team. They have nobody. They're just playing hard.
Yeah,
that's another. And by the way, that's another group. I'm glad you brought up Jacksonville for a moment. That's another team, another group of men that are playing for their careers. So that's what I believe in. I believe that there's no. Okay, I don't get on here too much. I'll throw out more controversy for you. I don't believe that tanking is a legitimate thing in week 7 or 6 or 5 or 8. I don't believe that. It is a fun phrase to think about, but no one sat in someone's office and said, we're doing this to lose so we can get position. No one's tanking. I mean, the Jets are going to move players because they're not going to make the playoffs this year to try and get picks. That's not tanking. That's managing your roster. That's not tanking. Keeping Gase, let me tell you, you can make an argument that keeping Gase is tanking. I might even agree with that argument because we already said that earlier. Best scenario for the Jets to lose more games than win would be to keep him. Of course, because he hasn't shown that he can win. It's just logic. That's just the way it goes.
Right.
But as I said, he ain't going anywhere, which is really weird.
All right. So I got a couple other questions that actually just popped into my head thanks to all of this. So put yourself in Joe Douglas's shoes, okay? Jets go 0-16. You're at the end of the year. What are you doing? What is the first move you do?
Well, at that point, if we went 0-16, I'd have to assess every key position on the team, right to the kicker, and we'd have to determine: do we have players now that would play for us next year? I'm not even thinking about 2 years from now. I'm thinking about next year because I think that the way they're building the team, they are not in any position to make any noise and make any distance between them and anyone else in a meaningful way. We don't have the personnel. If you look at our personnel, pound for pound, you will find us at number 32 in the league. There's no question about it. We have the weakest roster in the league. We also have, reportedly, the most picks, and we will have more because he's not done doing what he's doing or making trades. So I'd go position by position. Without a doubt, it's nice to have Gore here. Gore cannot be our main running back in 2021.
No, he can't.
That doesn't make any sense. That makes no sense whatsoever. So, they're going to have to make a move there. They got to make a move there. he gave out all these 1-year contracts on purpose. I'm sure on your show that you've discussed at length about all these 1-year contracts. What do you think he did that for?
Well, I think the reason why he did that was for salary cap flexibility, number one. Number two, I based it on the premise of this. Now, again, this goes against the information that you have heard, is that maybe at the end of the season, Joe Douglas, Christopher Johnson, they decide that they're going to part ways with Adam Gase. Christopher Johnson comes out and says that he's going to give the keys to Joe Douglas and let him run the franchise the way it's supposed to, because after all, Joe Douglas does have a 6-year deal, and he has a longer deal than Adam Gase. And I don't think that the two of them are married. I don't think that the two of them are attached to the hip. I think that maybe after the embarrassment of an 0-16 season, where this team right now is on pace to actually eclipse and beat the 1996 New York Jet team that went 1-15, that Joe Douglas would be able to go out with a clean slate, make this an attractive destination for a brand new head coach with a plethora of cap space and also a plethora of draft picks, plus also the prospect of having the number one pick overall in the NFL draft and drafting Trevor Lawrence, and basically giving whoever it is who he brings in as the new New York Jets head coach a blank canvas to work with, almost a blank slate to work with. Now, this is the only logical scenario that I can wrap my head around.
Hold on. Is this your Christmas punch list here that we're getting? That's a big list you just made.
Yeah, that's a big list.
What you're asking, again, devil's advocate, what you're asking Christopher Johnson to do on behalf of his brother is to change the way that the Jets do business. I want to say, in my heart of hearts, I do not believe they will do that. They will not they will not hand the keys to someone to run their business. It's just not how they're built. And that's who they are. We'd be better off if the Johnsons sold the Jets to someone else. God forbid it would be anybody else from Manhattan, if you know what I'm saying. Okay? But the reality is that they are the devil we know. We have no idea what someone else would do. But what you're saying, and it's not wrong what you're saying, it's just not the way they're built. And that's what makes it so frustrating.
Right. Yeah,
And
because we feel like that we can understand the desperation of the Johnsons. And they are so desperate to bring a winner to New York, and I completely understand it. But it just seems like that every time they try to do something, the move just backfires. And when it backfires, Lon, it just has such cataclysmic repercussions on the franchise itself.
Can I address something here? Because I got a good message here from your friend Scotty out there. Okay?
Sure.
He says the cap means nothing when the top free agents don't want to play for this franchise. Okay.
Yep.
Let me say this. I'd like to add to this. Only because I'm older and I've had an opportunity to meet a few people. I've met a few people who play professional sports, NFL and NBA in particular. And one day I was talking with a trainer, and this is when I was sort of a new Jet season ticket holder, and I was really, I was a younger man, and I was just so excited, beyond, right? Waited a long time. In those years, they had a list, and I think when I joined the list, it was like 30,000 names, and then suddenly it was 12,000 names, and then finally my name came up, and I got tickets. It was fantastic. But he said to me, let me ask you a question. What do you think these football players do when they're not, together? Do you think that they're living and breathing and worrying about who won and all that? And I said, well, yeah, that's what I think. I think they're like me, He said, that's absolutely not true. First of all, these free agents, they're interested in one thing: making as much money as possible, the most amount of money. Don't think that if they get a chance to play for Kansas City, they take $10 million less. That is bullshit. Okay, they will take $10 million more to play for the Jets. Absolutely. Matter of fact, they'll go to the Jets and say, you know what? Don't pay me $10 million, pay me $15 million.
Yeah,
and
the
I'll
jet
come.
tax.
And I'll come. Correct. So this notion that the free agents don't want to come here is not true. The free agents are in it for the money. They have a limited amount of years to play. Some of these guys only play 5 years. Good ones get to play 8 years. It used to be they played longer. They don't anymore. It's too taxing on their bodies. The game is much faster. The hitting is much harder. There's no question about that. The travel is excruciating. And once you get a $30-40 million deal with a guarantee of 15 mil, come on, man. That's real. That's big money. And don't forget, the big players, they get a lot more. They get huge guarantees. It used to be in the day, you couldn't get guarantees. You get a small guarantee. You have to make the team next year. Okay? Nowadays, the free agents command upfront money, guarantees. I mean, Robbie Anderson, okay, you're going to make your fans go crazy. Robbie Anderson, okay, wanted like $14 million guaranteed. There's no way Douglas is going to pay him that. And again, I think he got like $9 million guaranteed. It's just insane. So it's zip codes, guys. Zip codes. This is what the money is huge. The owners are making billions. Whoever said it earlier, you're right. They don't have to win one game, and they're making hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yep.
We know this. We know this. Which is why the Johnsons aren't going to give up control. Why would they? Why would they do it now? They're so desperate to win, they'll let someone else do it, get no credit for it, just that they sign the checks. That's not who they are. I don't think. But so, I just wanted to address that one thing. I believe the Jets can sign free agents, but we're not going to sign a lot of free agents anyway. Not for a long time. We might sign a few free agents along the way, but, a $5 million player, $7 million player. We're not going to sign these $50, $80, $100 million players. No way. No, I just don't see it because we're so bad right now. We're in a very, very unique time. And the sooner everybody gets their arms around that and the excitement of what that could be, I think everybody would be a lot happier. I think it's very difficult to go through all this. I lived through that 1 and 15 season. I was a season ticket holder for it. I attended all the home games. It was really bad. It was bad, but there was no question that Kotite would be fired. There was no question about it. Here, there's a question. Quick Kotite story. Do you mind?
Do it. We got plenty of time. Go for it.
I was at a country club in Alpine, New Jersey, having lunch with someone. And in walks Rich Kotite with a friend, member of the club. And he takes a seat near my table, and I moved my seat. I moved. I did. And then the person said to me, why are we moving? I said, I can't sit near this guy. I can't do it. I can't do it. I heard him mumbling something, but I didn't care because I truly didn't like him. Yeah, and by the way, I don't know if anybody's aware, he was a pretty good football player when he played. He was a tough guy. Scored, and he played well as a football player. Look it up, Rich Kotite. But
oh my God,
I mean, not a superstar, but he played pro football. I couldn't stand him. A lot of people feel that way about Gase. I don't think anybody really knows him. Not really. You know what I know about him? 2 things. Number one, when I went to Jacksonville, I got some tremendous seats. I went with Jason Capel, hooked me up. I sat with Fireman Ed. David drove from Alabama. It was a great, great experience. So what I noticed, we were standing on the rail before the game. Fans, local fans, Jet fans, whoever was there, maybe from Florida, were allowed to talk to Gase. I saw 3 men together talking to Gase. And they were, I'm going to tell you, in awe. They were laughing. He was laughing. Shook their hands because I knew it was the first time they met them. They were very chummy. Wow. He was very friendly, very, like, extremely. And my son and I were saying, are you looking at this? I say, he's looking like a regular guy. He's like us. It's like, if he were right here with us, he would be this way. And then, of course, when he does his press conferences, he's a completely different guy. And when he's on the sideline, he's buried in his clipboard. Or sometimes he sits on the bench. I don't think he does that much anymore, but he's very stoic. like he's a loner. He's a very complicated guy. But I did get to see him in a social setting. And he seemed to be a very affable fella.
Well, maybe I guess because his, he doesn't have that Denny's that Denny's menu for a playbook in his face, and not trying to figure out what works when his team is down 30 points. But
I no one likes what we're seeing. I don't like what we're seeing. I was hoping we could be competitive today. We were competitive for half.
Yeah, we were
better than last time. It was better than last time. It exposed us. Buffalo exposed us in the second half today. They exposed Sam Darnold. There's going to be a lot of chatter about him tomorrow.
Yep.
A lot. And rightfully so, because I think he made some mistakes. And he's going to have to own up to them. And again, Gase has said he's not executing. I have to agree with that. He's not. He's just not executing. And he's not throwing that ball away. Not enough. You see other quarterbacks do it. Other quarterbacks throw it away. Other quarterbacks. And again, I don't think he's running as much as he wants to anyway. I think he's been told not to. Maybe.
Wow. No.
Maybe. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Did he run? Did he run for more than 3 yards today?
No, I don't think so.
No. Stayed near that pocket the whole day.
No, actually, he did not have a rush in the game. Not according to
No.
That's
So when quarterbacks do stuff like that, there's a reason for that.
yeah, it's because they're told.
They practice that. I had an argument with, speaking of, Jason Capel. Do you know him?
Of course.
I had an argument with him one day. No, when I talk to him, he's like the Antichrist a little. He can't help himself. I love him. He's always the contrary. He's like the contrary guy,
Yes.
So we were talking about practice. And of course I'm thinking about, practice. Practice. We're not talking about a game. We're talking about practice. Right? We've heard that 100 times. It was the greatest ever.
Of course.
So he says there was a play in a particular game from some particular team on Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football. And right away I call him. I said, did you see that play? He says, yeah, that was a great play. I said, yeah, they must have practiced that a few times. He says, come on, practice. They don't practice. They're not hitting. They're not practicing. I said, well, what do you think they're doing? They're having tea? What are they just hanging out? They're practicing. They practice stuff, of course. So the idea of NFL practices and what they've become versus what they used to be. I mean, guys used to come out of NFL practices wounded.
Are you serious?
Wounded. Well, of course, because they were hitting. First of all, they were allowed to hit on Mondays. They can't do that anymore. You can't hit. They stopped all that. Okay, so they're getting less reps. They're getting less reps during the week. That doesn't stop Sam, from throwing. By the way, throw as much as he likes. But I'm saying that you don't get reps with the club. So that's changed. What happened to your friend? So it's his birthday?
Yeah, it's Spotty Blackman's birthday. So you know what? We're gonna take a quick pause here. All right, I just poured myself another shot here. We're going again. All right, so Lon's gonna pour himself a shot, and you know what? Even though he got to make his mark, I got the crown here. So, and you know what? We're gonna do this shot tonight in honor of Mr. Kevin Jackson, otherwise known as Spotty Blackman, who's probably getting so drunk right now that he can't see straight. Not only because the Jets lost, but because it's also his birthday. So you know what? Let's raise a glass to you. Happy birthday, Kevin.
Scotty, I'm going to turn around the Jets lose booze side to the blank side for you. Happy birthday, buddy. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Spotty Blackman. Smooth!
There are people yelling. There are people yelling "smooth" all over the world. They send me instant messages of screaming "smooth."
That's the best right there, I tell you. So
I got one from Ireland last week. Jet fan in Ireland. So we were talking a little bit about what they watch over there, and I said, "So, do you get any good Jets swag over there in Ireland?" He says, "You can't get a." I can't use the voice. You can't get one thing here.
And I can't get a damn thing here.
Jersey. I can't get a jersey. It's so funny, but he got one. Messenger is so cool that you could do that.
Nice. Yeah, that is cool. I have to say, Facebook Messenger definitely have added a few cool.
Yeah, I'm very lucky because there's another guy. I don't know if you know this guy. You know this guy, Mark Roseman? You ever hear him?
I think so. Yes.
So Mark Roseman, he is like, oh my God, he is like the original podcaster. I mean, he was doing podcasting before they called it podcasting. He has his own thing through the New York Rangers.
Oh wow!
He's actually you'd like him. I'll get you guys together. So he started his own thing, and he has a weekly. He does it Sunday nights. Been doing it for years. He has a studio. It's just fantastic. And he approached me. Oh my God, 10 years ago more. And I know him from college. He approached me. He said, "Listen, I'm starting a network, a radio network. I want you to join me." And I said, "Okay, what am I going to do?" He says, "Well, whatever you want to do." I said, "Well, I like talking about the Jets." Fine. So we started something called the Jet Zone. So it gave me an opportunity to do that with him for a while. And that turned into this Jet Zone live thing I did with personalities and conversations. And I had great guests. I mean, you can't believe the kind of people we had. We had musicians, all kinds of stuff. And then, of course, I work with Eric Manesey.
Yep.
Good old
E-Man.
And E-Man, who's around on Twitter, although he's Jets retired. You know his story? That he gave up his season tickets. He was so frustrated with the kneeling.
Yes.
It's all about the kneeling. And he's very patriotic, and his family served. And we respect that 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave up his season tickets and hung up his microphone for good. And it's a shame because we were widely listened to, and we had a lot of listeners, and we were taking off. I had my own thing, and he had his own thing, and we joined forces.
You guys had a combination show called Jets Twit.
And we did use his company's name and such, and there's no secret to that because he had thousands and thousands of followers on Twitter. I was more Facebook based, he was more Twitter based, and it just made sense. And we did have a wonderful time together, but I sensed it. He talked to me off camera about it a few times. Then one day he says, "I'm out. That's it." And I was just shocking. And by the way, he does not post about the Jets. He does not talk about the Jets. Talks about baseball every now and then. He still loves the Mets.
Yeah, he's a huge.
He loves the Mets, but no Jets. He's finished with them forever. He's finished with the NFL forever.
Wow,
amazing. I tell you the truth, that was a big sacrifice because I know that cost him real money. He left money on the table, real money. And he's not some big corporation. He's not some rich family guy. I mean, he left real money on the table. I respect him. I miss him. Eric, I miss you.
I miss him too. Let me tell you, I would love to get his thoughts on this. What we're seeing here. So
you know what he would say? He'd say, "I told you." He would say, what are you talking about? I told you.
I can hear it now. I told you guys this was going to happen.
I told you it was going to happen. And he said, and forget that Kaepernick, and I'll never wear a Nike outfit, and et cetera, et cetera. Okay? Could you imagine he's around and they're not playing the national anthem with the players in the building anymore like it used to be? Eric's a few years younger than me. I used to tease him about that. Because if he were with me, I'd say, back when I was a kid, they didn't even play the national anthem. With the players there, they used to be in the locker room, and then they come out. Forever. I mean, forever it was that way.
Yeah.
And then they changed it. They changed it. Now they changed it again, and the teams have an option to stay in the locker room if they want. And I think they should do whatever they want. That's fine. They've earned it.
Yeah, the only thing.
You know what?
The only thing is just don't disrespect the flag.
Well, that's the thing. They could do it. Again, nobody wants them to disrespect the flag. And I think the teams have told them, you're not going to. You're not going to. So here's your option. If you can't, stay in the locker room. And then teams have decided, well, We're doing everything together. So if there's a few people that want to stay in the locker room, we are all together going to stay in the locker room. You know who started that? The Steelers. The Steelers. They started that. And the Jets are doing it now.
Yeah.
They're not out there. And I think that's the right thing to do. I do. That's not a political thing. That's just, we're all against them bashing the flag and anything.
Right.
Get out of here with that. Nobody wants that. Of course not. No way.
So, all right.
So
now,
what do we got coming? What do we got coming up next week? Who's coming next week?
I believe we got
I know who's coming next week.
we got the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh,
that should be a fun game. So, listen, this is what I said on the Thomas Take podcast, that I really hope that Le'Veon Bell scores a touchdown and he runs over to the sidelines and he gives the ball to Coach Gase. I really do. And I stand by that. You know why? Because I love Le'Veon Bell. I wish that he was used a lot better when he was here. And the way that they kind of just let him go, granted, there are more and more details that keep coming out week to week about the actual conversation that took place, but you don't really know what's fact and what's fiction. I miss him. I wish that he was here. Take a look at the T-shirt I got right directly above my head there, courtesy of Mr. Daniel Smith, otherwise known as the Jets Guru. He did a whole Metallica slash Le'Veon Bell take called Ride to Gamble. And I love that shirt. That's why it's up on the wall. But, Lonnie, I want to get your thoughts. How did you feel when you found out, when you got the news that Le'Veon Bell was pretty much was cut?
I was not surprised at all. In fact, the Bell signing was controversial in the building in Florham Park to begin with. It's my understanding Gase didn't want him.
Yeah, he made that very known.
It made it, he didn't want him. And it's my understanding the Johnsons did. And they communicated that to JD and then they signed him to a big deal. So he came in his first season overweight and out of shape. And that Bell will admit to this. He has. He said that I know that I was not where I should be. He worked out in the offseason like no player I've ever seen that I kept track of, because I followed him on Twitter and Instagram. So I got to see all of his workout videos. You cannot believe what he was up to in the gym, boxing.
Yeah, he looked amazing.
Just everything. And he had like an 8-pack and it was legit. And he was chiseled and he was fast. But here's the thing. The Jets never were the team to allow him to do what he does best. And when he played at Pittsburgh, played behind an offensive line that created even a small gap for him to do his thing. The Jets didn't have that push 2 years ago, and they don't really have that push now. They have a little better push. I would have to say,
well, thanks.
It is better.
On the left side, but they still.
It is better. It is better, but I think the reality is they never set him up for success. And I'm going to say something else. My apologies, because I know you like him. If you got the fever, you're not out bowling with your family. Right away, that tells me he doesn't want to be here.
That was wrong. Listen, I completely agree with you right there.
That was wrong.
Yeah,
and there's no defending that. On the other side, he was a great people guy for the Jets. Nice to the fans, communicated on Twitter, wasn't too controversial, kept it within the lines, positive about the club, involved with the new uniforms.
Mm-hmm.
Very positive.
Absolutely.
Attended fan events. People loved him. People loved him. He was rebuilding his brand. Don't forget, what does he love equal to football? Maybe more. Music.
Right.
He's a rap artist, right?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, when he announced the Jets signing, he was actually dropping his album around the same time.
Right. And I could tell you that music to him is critically important. His creative side is so important. And I'm sure that he told the Jets, I'll do whatever you want in terms of public relations, but I'm doing my music, and you got to be cool with that. And because they both did it.
Gagnon had no issue with that because, I mean, basically, if you think about it, the Jets were in a bidding war with themselves. There really wasn't any takers. I mean, you heard the Broncos had some interest. You heard the Raiders had some interest. You heard a couple of other teams had some interest, but nothing was ever really bona fide proven 100%.
Well, because I think he had something to prove. He took a year off from the game.
Mm-hmm.
And people forget that too, that he took a year. He took a year off. And what did he do? He did nothing, and he got fat.
Yeah.
Okay. For a football player, I mean, I shouldn't say that about him compared to me, but I'm just saying he really got lazy. And then he paid the price. He came into camp. He was somewhat in shape, but he couldn't do what he did. Then he came into this season, and the Jets are in a free. And now the Jets, of course, are in a completely different mode in his second year here. It changed because the decision was we are going to wipe it. We're going to do that. Okay. So there's no reason for him to be here. So I think that the Jets did the right thing for him, and I have no ill feelings to him, and I wish him well. I do because he was good to the fans, and he was a gentleman on Twitter.
Yes.
And he never answered any of my tweets, but I tried. So he answered some people, and he was very kind to everybody. So I wish him well. But back to your friend Scotty from before. Bell came here to get paid. There you go. Bell came here. He didn't have to go here. He could have gone to Denver. He could have gone other place. Whatever. Any team that had interest, he could have said, you know what, I'll go there. Even though I can't get the most money, $2 million less. Okay, I'll go there. Bullshit. That's bullshit. They go money. Money
is what makes the world.
That's what it is. That's certainly what it is. That's what I felt.
All right. So one last thing before we start to wrap it up, I did want to get your opinion on how do you feel about Steve McClendon? He actually found out Saturday that he was being traded to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he actually laced them up and he said one more for the road. And he actually played in the game with the Jets versus Miami. And then afterwards had a call waiting for him in which they sent him over to Tampa. So want to get
what do
your
I think? What do I think?
Thoughts on that?
I think that his agent had a heart attack. I mean, if I am representing this kid, I'm driving up to the facility in my Mercedes, and I'm going in the locker room, and I'm packing his shit up myself. You are not playing in this game. You've been traded. What if you get hurt? You cannot play. I mean, I just think it's insane what he did. It's very unusual. Goes to show you that the Bucs were willing to let him play because they could have told him not to.
Right. But also, I think it said a lot about his character too, because he came out and he said that he loved a lot of guys in the locker room, and he wanted to go out there one more time with his brothers, as he called it. You know, with the defensive line unit, and despite the Jets not really getting the result that they wanted to, but you know what? I find it very admirable that he did.
Well, I'm sorry. I think that my entire performance tonight is based on realism. So I apologize if I gave like a real answer.
No,
I would say, I'll come back to this in a moment. Let me finish one thought. I respect him that he did that. It's very unusual that players would have that type of kinship, but don't forget he's been here a few years. So I get that. So, he respected the organization. He appreciated what the Johnsons did for him. These players appreciate what the Johnsons do for them, but they pay them. I'm going to say it again. Everybody forgets about the money. Don't forget about the money. It is the most important thing to them. It's more important than anything. It's for the health and welfare of their family. It's not to be running to casinos and buying jewelry and all that stuff. It's for their family. They made a commitment to potentially harm their bodies and brains to do this. It is a rough game. We don't take that in account at all, us fans. We don't. This is a rough game that could ruin you, kill you. It could. I mean, it's just that kind of thing. There's a lot of protections, but the fact is, it is. That's why they appreciate the money. But I would say we're in for certainly a very difficult ride. And part of how I am getting through it personally is that I've accepted it. I've accepted where we are. I'm rooting for them. I'm rooting for individual performances. I'm rooting for Sam in the worst way. I want him to be successful. I don't want them to go 0-16. I'd like to see them have some success and enjoy that. It would be incredibly in bad form for these players not to win one game and live with that for the rest of their lives. It's bad.
You're part of that team.
Ask those guys on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers how they feel about it. Ask them. They'll tell you. And it's just bad. It's not great. It's not great for your football career.
Hey, take a look at the Cleveland Browns. You know, Hugh Jackson, 1 win in a combined 2 years. I mean,
you've seen coaches. By the way, I'm glad you brought them up. You've seen other teams that held on to coaches for years. Cincinnati had the same coach for 14 years.
Yep.
What did he do? Not really. A little competitive here and there, but not really. He didn't do it. I think Cleveland's done that. That's why I think the Jets are going to. That's why I think the Jets are going to do it. The only way that happens is if they sell the team. And right now, there'd be no reason for them to sell the team.
Really quick, actually, I did want to mention something to you. All right. So you could tell I'm trying to get all these questions in because there's so many things that I've been wanting to ask you.
You're exhausting me. Go ahead.
So one of the things that I wanted to ask you is obviously, you heard about the different things coming out about Woody Johnson, right? Mm-hmm. His time over at an ambassador. The U.S. State Department was looking into him making racist and sexist comments and so on and so forth. If there does prove to be any validity to those claims, do you, in your professional opinion, and I know somebody who's been around the podcast world for a very, very long time, do you, in your opinion, see the possibility of the NFL stepping in, a la sort of like how the NBA did in with the gentleman who owned, I think, the Golden State Warriors or whatever, for his comments and maybe saying, yeah, no, we don't play like that. You're going to need to put the team up for sale. In your opinion?
I'm thinking about my wife right now, that she was sitting next to me. She'd be looking at me and she'd say, choose your words very carefully, what you're about to say. Because when we discuss the movement that is going on in the world regarding sexual harassment, it is arguably one of the top 2 or 3 discussions in the world.
Yes.
Among everyone, particularly women, right? And rightfully so. Rightfully so. Mr. Johnson, put him over here. Talk about also, we have the Washington Redskins, who had reportedly been taking advantage of their cheerleaders in a very negative way. And that Mr. Snyder, the owner of that team, of the Washington football team, was implicated in some of that because he knew about it. They have not asked Mr. Snyder to sell that team. They have not. And some of that included dating women in a role where I'm your boss kind of role. Okay? And that's incredibly negative, right? So Mr. Johnson, and again, the State Department, has their rules, United States State Department, and I'm sure it'll be thoroughly investigated. And if it is investigated and finds out that he did what he did, then of course, I think a couple of things. Number one, we don't know what's going to happen with the election, but if President Trump were to win, I'd imagine he'd like him to stay there as the ambassador to England. Because according to President Trump, he's done a good job. He likes the job that he's done. However, if Vice President Biden were to win the election, I could assure you that Woody Johnson will not be the ambassador to England.
Yeah,
and once
he'll be right back, probably taking
right back
over
running his business.
Right.
Which become chairman of the New York Jets again, I imagine. However, we'll see how the investigation goes and see what the truth is. Because somewhere between what was said and what he says is the truth. And they'll get to it. And I don't believe that they'd be in a position to force a sale. I mean, in an egregious situation, they might be able to force him to step down, but then Christopher would hold on.
Right.
Unless he didn't want it. And then we'd have we'd have such a weird story. It would be bizarre. But I don't get the impression that Christopher doesn't like it. In fact, I saw him up close. Real up close, as you know.
Right.
I got a chance to talk to him. He likes it. He likes it. Definitely. I didn't get that impression from him at all, unless he's a great actor, which I don't think he's a great actor. I think he's a great businessman. That's what he is. So, in regard to Mr. Johnson, there's been no talk about that since. It was a pretty hot story there for a little while. We are in unprecedented uber electronic sensitive election period, unlike any in the history of our country. And I do like history. Back when Lincoln was running for president, he used to do these Lincoln Douglas debates. And if you can imagine that, they didn't even have microphones. And 100,000 people would come out to see this. I always wondered how the people in the back could hear Lincoln. I thought that was a weird thing. But anyway, I guess there would someone would write it down maybe, and then they say it's other people. That's how they did things back then. So the Lincoln Douglas debates were, you studied them in school, and that determined the course of our nation. Nowadays, you press one button, just one button. It's out all over the world, and once you write it, it's forever. Video can actually be manipulated, but the written word cannot. So writing is very important. And I think that you got a lot of people tweeting a lot of stuff, saying a lot of stuff, but tweeting and writing things, these things last forever. They certainly do. And that's why this is a very unprecedented time. So the fact that story came out about Mr. Johnson, there could be a case made that it was to embarrass the administration. Maybe it could have waited until after the season is what I'm saying, or after the election. I'm just saying. We don't know. If any of that is true, they should throw him out right now. Okay, that's what I said. It's wrong. Definitely.
Yeah, that's really the kind of thought that the thought process that I have is that if there is any type of validity to it, because of the fact of such the sensitive times that we live in, I really think that it would be poor judgment for Roger Goodell to for not only Roger Goodell, but also for the NFL to not act on this, because we saw what the NBA did. Okay. And what Donald Stern or whatever the hell his name was or whatever, who was implicated in the whole thing, that was egregious by itself. But if it turns out that, again, that Woody Johnson is guilty of said offense, then I just feel like that the NFL would probably have no choice but to have to step in. Because I think that especially in the heated times that we're living in now with the Black Lives Matter movement and stuff like that, I hate getting political, but unfortunately it's that. This is something where, unfortunately, I feel like the league has to step in, and you have to say, look, we can't allow this.
Hey, you do know that the majority of NFL fans are female, right?
Right. Over 72% to that matter. Okay.
So that's who their customer is. So if that's their customer, they have to appeal to their customer. It's interesting. I think if it comes to pass, then you'll start seeing some petition movement in that way, and then the commissioner and the owners would have to make a decision what they do. Hey, listen, DiBartolomeo, what's his name? The guy who owns the San Francisco 49ers. He used to own them.
Yeah, Eddie DeBartolo.
Thank you. I couldn't spit it out. So DeBartolo, he ended up selling the team to his family member. They asked him to step down. There was indictments, real estate deal.
Right.
Something.
Yeah, he was involved in some sort of Ponzi scheme or something like that.
Something. But he kept it in the family. And his daughter, his niece, or somebody who owns that team. But it's his family. That's his family. So we're not getting rid of the Johnsons that fast. Because I don't think there's two reasons. They don't want to sell.
Write a letter to Steve Cohen. I mean, look, if he just had enough money to buy the Mets, he's got to have something left over.
Steve Cohen's a rich guy. By the way, by all reports, he's a good guy. Friends of friends, wives know him, whatever. So he's apparently he's a good guy. He'd be a good guy to have a steak with, that kind of thing. On the other hand, he has his own. He was fined by the SEC for illegal trades, like $1 billion. But that doesn't make him a bad guy. But just, the mayor of New York still hasn't approved his ascension to the ownership. Do you know how that works? Are you familiar with that?
I have no idea.
Well, of course, the first the Wilpons and Katzes negotiated with him, and then it all fell apart, and then they came back and they made a deal, yada, yada, yada. Okay, they made a deal. So then, once they announced they had a deal, they sent it to the owners. And the owners all approved, except Citi Field is not owned by the Wilpons and the Katzes. It's owned by the city of New York. They lease it from the city. And in the lease, it specifically says that if there's an ownership change during the time of the lease, that the mayor of New York City personally would have to approve the sale.
And let me guess, de Blasio is dragging his heels.
A little bit.
Wow.
A little bit. He's dragging.
Thank God I'm not a Mets fan.
Now, there's no reason. There's no reason for him not to say no. There is a rule.
There
is a rule. There's a rule in the Major League Baseball code that that not only they have background checks and such. There was some issue whether or not you have any big fines or you went to jail or something like that. So of course he has that blemish against him, and it was mentioned that de Blasio could use that as some reason to say no. But I would say this, that if de Blasio is not approved, this man, as the owner of the Mets, he better get the Marines in front of Gracie Mansion. He's going to have a big problem.
Oh, God.
It'll get approved. It's getting done. It's getting done.
All right. So anyhow, that's going to do it for tonight's episode of Weapons Hot, a New York Jets fan broadcast. Lonnie, Mr. Lonnie Siegel, tell everyone here how they can get a hold of you. They can interact with you. They can talk with you.
Oh, yes. So the best way to find me is two places. First of all, I'm over at Twitter, easy to find. I am at Lon Jets, Lon Jets, easy to find, right? And over on Facebook, we have something called Jet Zone Radio fan page. I post interesting articles, sometimes some funny videos. A lot of my musings from Twitter, I copy over there. So if you have a take, I'd love to hear from you. And this was thoroughly terrific to be with you again. I think the last time we did a gig was when I was still living on the west coast of Florida.
Yes, that's right. So, yeah, let's not let this be like a yearly thing. You got to come on a couple more times. So
you invited me, and I accepted, and timing was perfect. And now I need another little drink, and then I'm going to go to sleep.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you can follow the show on Twitter at CNC Jets Factor. You can follow me at JetsFan0523. My partner in crime, who is celebrating his birthday today, at Spotty Blackman, Mr. Kevin Jackson. Be sure to give him a follow. Don't forget to shoot the show an email, the Jets Weapons Hot Podcast at gmail.com. And of course, don't forget to check us out on Facebook. You can find us on the Weapons Hot Facebook page. Shoot us a message, like our page. Our content is up there. Message us or message you right back. We love going back and forth with fans about this team. Also, leave us some feedback because we love to hear how we're doing here on Weapons Hot. Also, don't forget to check us out on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Don't forget to check us out on Snowman Digital Media. Shout out to Brian Snow and Dr. K. We love you guys. Also, don't forget to check us out on Sports War Radio. Yes, on Spreaker.com, www.spreaker.com/Sports War Radio. Shout out to Mr. Paul Edson Jr. and Mr. Sheriff Joe Branham for all the work that they do on that side of the glass. Also, I want to give a shout out to the fans. The fans that interact with us and tune into the show every single week here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, on YouTube, or wherever you get your fix. We do this for you. We love it when you interact with us. Shout out to Scott Klesby, to Robert Nacarano, to there was another gentleman, Nicholas Valankis, also to Airman Ryan Reedy from the 45th Medical Group for joining the show tonight. We do this for you guys because we absolutely love you guys and we love our New York Jets. So please keep your comments coming. Keep your input coming. We love hearing what you guys have to say. And with our 0-7 Jets, Weapons Hot, the therapy session is wide open, ladies and gentlemen. Plus, if you have a topic that you want us to talk about, send it to us. We will talk about it. Okay? Like I had so many questions tonight from Mr. Lonnie, who I haven't spoken to in so long. We don't get the opportunity to talk to one another enough. That's why tonight's episode ran as long as it did. Hopefully it won't be, we got to get him back on again because I have much more thoughts, much more questions to ask him as this season completely unfolds, as he's shaking his head over there going, oh my God.
I got my ears open. I'm listening. I'm listening to everything. Don't worry. Hey, by the way, one last thing. I'm wearing my Lightning shirt that my son bought for me. We like the Lightning. That's our team, and they are the Stanley Cup. When
you see this over here,
when you're a perennial loser with the Jets over the last 10 seasons, it's nice to have some wins every now and then. Makes the food taste better. I assure you.
I tell you. All right. So for Mr. Lonnie Siegel from Jet Zone Radio, Mr. Kevin Jackson, who's celebrating his birthday tonight, I am CJ the Painkiller DeSimone, and I'm going to be signing off for tonight. We will see you guys. When we see you guys, peace, love, go Jets. Shout out to our official sponsors, StatementGames.com and Mr. Mark Salino. Be sure to give them a follow. And I'm going to leave you guys tonight, which still, in my opinion, is the best chant in the National Football League. Go Jets, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good night. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.